Now, a rare glimpse at the heart of the world's most secretive regime, a story of citizens living in abject terror, where anything other than total devotion to the authorities is not an option. The UN Human Rights Council has launched a special commission to investigate human rights abuses in North Korea. Hearings began in September, and this programme has spoken to 3 defectors who've been giving evidence. One, a former senior member of the regime, told our Asia correspondent John Sparks the capital city was awash with fear.
Pyongyang. It's monumental and muscular. It's been built to impress, but few journalists are invited to see it. So we went fully armed this summer with curiosity and plenty of questions. Why is this exhibition so important? We were looking for the real North Korea, but we soon realized that we'd come to the wrong place.
Yeah. Don't shoot. Don't shoot me.
They don't give much away in the world's most secretive state.
Hello.
We'd been invited to events marking the end of the Korean War in July, and the authorities set out to astonish.
Greatly, the Kim Jong-un is here.
North Koreans are told their great leader, Kim Jong-un, descended from heaven. But he looked remarkably human, with dandruff specked on his collar, and a Mercedes parked round the back. Cheering crowds seemed to follow him everywhere, but the sound had been pre-recorded. So what's real in North Korea? We went to the very top to find out. Kim Jong-un, what message are you trying to send to the West? But the answers were hard to come by.
You could go there 100 times or even 10,000 times on an official trip, but you'll never get a real glimpse of North Korea.
To fill in the gaps, we've come to the capital of South Korea, where the UN has begun a groundbreaking investigation into human rights abuses in the north. Behind the scenes, on the back streets of Seoul, UN investigators have been working hard, meeting with almost 100 defectors willing to give testimony. And each one has something unsettling or shocking to say about the real North Korea. A small number have even spoken out at public hearings. Shin Dong-hyuk escaped from a labor camp in 2005.
Massacres will be carried out. They have been carried out. We have to talk about this so that we can stop it in the future.
They've been dismissed as human scum by the North, but their testimony is likely to prove what the rest of the world has long suspected. Kim Kwang-ho was, until recently, a high-ranking member of the North Korean regime. He lived in Pyongyang, and he told me that the city is awash with fear.
Ordinary citizens in Pyongyang are constantly afraid of being removed from the city. They can never relax, not ever. That's the way it is in the capital.
City residents are privileged. They're guaranteed a daily ration of rice, but in return they have to demonstrate total devotion to the regime. And this summer they've been painting buildings in pastel colours and relaying the grass with immaculate evergreen turf. We saw people on their knees weeding with tweezers.
Citizens are mobilised to pluck weeds and sweep the roads from first light. And they have to pay for the flowers and plants to decorate the streets. They even have to pay for the street lights.
Outside the city, life is bleak. Channel 4 News has obtained pictures of what activists say is an illegal market, filmed earlier this year in a town called Haisan. They're tolerated by the regime because it can't feed its own people. But you need money to shop, and many North Koreans haven't got any. A recent defector told us how she and hundreds of others survived on scraps and rubbish discarded at markets like these.
There are people of all ages searching for food, from ages 5 to 70. We use sticks to dig around, then we'd move on to the next market. When I looked behind me, I'd see another group of people looking at the same spot where I'd been.
Activists filmed these homeless children 9 months ago. Hannah said she and her best friend, Hae-suk, lived on the streets like this for several years. An ordeal her companion didn't survive.
A government official saw her begging on a bridge. He was worried that South Korean spies would take pictures of her. So the officer had my friend locked up. She starved to death in there. It really hurts me.
North Korea suffers from persistent food shortages, and this year's no exception. Almost a third of children are severely malnourished. Still, countries like the UK are making it worse by refusing to hand over emergency aid. A top UN official told me the donations dried up after the regime issued military threats in April.
North Korea almost has a red flag on it. And therefore, I'm not saying that that donors are deliberately, intentionally using humanitarian aid as a bargaining tool, but there is
but they are.
Well, there is. What I'm saying is that they are influenced. They're influenced by this.
Are you frustrated?
We are frustrated because our colleagues and our staff on the ground are doing very hard work, and they see on the ground dying children. They see stunted children.
The people who run North Korea have other priorities, like control. They've built massive concentration camps for citizens accused of criticizing the government. You can see them on the internet. This is Camp 15, better known as Yodok. It's thought at least 50,000 are held here. Jong Kwang-il spent 4 years in Yodok.
The way people were treated is simply beyond belief, far worse than animals.
He says he was tortured for 10 months and kept on the brink of starvation with other inmates. These drawings produced by defectors who've done time in North Korean prison camps. In the winter, prisoners had to cut down trees, but Mr. Jong said the guards didn't bother with inmates who injured themselves.
This is where we buried the bodies. There must be thousands of them. We had to pile them up in the shed, and you could hear the dying ones wailing through the night, groaning with pain. When April came, we had to go into the shed and clear it up. The smell of rotting bodies was terrible. We had to use pitchforks to drag them out.
Back in Pyongyang, we saw what the authorities wanted us to see, the illusion of comfort and well-being. But graphic testimony from defectors may well shatter it. The regime's trying to stop people from escaping. Their stories are damaging the state. But the truth about the real North Korea cannot be contained.